Hello and welcome to another Sports Intelligence Mentoring podcast. And firstly, I'd like to start by making an apology for the amount of time it's taken for me to produce another podcast. The reason for this delay is because these podcasts take a lot of time and research to produce, and only the best and most cutting-edge content for you will do. So we really need your support. If you are liking these videos, just go ahead and spread the word, share them, like them, subscribe, or support us through the Patreon site. You will see certain links appear up on the screen or in the description box below, where you can make a donation of whatever you wish. However, please remember that with your support, we can produce these podcasts more frequently. Now, have you ever engaged in a pastime such as reading a book, watching a movie, or listening to music, where you've become so engrossed in the experience that you seem to have lost all concept and track of time? For me, I've had this experience whilst reading a really good novel on holiday. I believe the last time I had this experience was when I read Gone Girl whilst away in Croatia. I also tend to have a similar experience whilst playing FIFA 17 on a games console, which I admit is not necessarily the best use of my time. On these occasions, I have become so engaged in the experience that everything in the world around me seems to fade in existence. Let's take the example of reading a book, for instance. If you stop to think about it, reading can be described as just a mundane task of interpreting a bunch of man-made symbols from a page into words. Yet, with a well-written book, these words can jump out of a page to elicit four-dimensional images in our mind's eye. I say four-dimensional because unlike objectively watching something from a screen, a very well-written book can propel you into the fictional world that the author has painted, where you also feel real sensations and emotions such as laughter, happiness, sadness, tears, excitement, anxiety, and even fear. Meanwhile, in the real world, real things are still happening, such as forgetting that you've left the stove on or the bath water running. On the flip side, I've read many books that feel literally painful to read. They were either so poorly written, so uninteresting, or so unbelievable that the thought of wasting a huge chunk of my life trying to get to the conclusion on page 423 feels similar to preparing for a life sentence in prison. Now, the first type of experience, and let's be honest, more preferable type of experience I described, does not only occur when engaging in some type of entertainment. We can attain this state of mind with anything that we put our minds to. Let's take acting, for example. When actors fully immerse themselves in a role, his or her characterization is delivered with more believability and authenticity because their emotions are real, natural responses, even if the situation itself is not. This experience and state of mind that we all occasionally enter into is one that has been coined by the highly reputable Hungarian psychologist and currently the chairman of the Claremont Graduate University, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, yes, pronounced Csikszentmihalyi, as flow, F-L-O-W. Now, outside of the discipline of psychology, this state of mind is known by musicians, primarily jazz musicians, as being in the pocket. When a musician is in the pocket, he or she will often describe their experience as feeling like they are at one with the instrument and the music around them. This means that their ego or sense of self-consciousness temporarily disappears. Their sense of time becomes completely distorted, meaning that 10 minutes of playing could feel like they were performing for an hour. Also, every note played occurs without any conscious decision making. So as a jazz musician jams, or a rapper or street dancer freestyles, no preparing, planning, or anticipation of what they need to do in the immediate future is applied. In other words, all decision making is automatic and fluid, like a self-driving vehicle. Now, in the field of sport, which is essentially what this channel is about, this experience is often described by commentators and athletes themselves as being in the zone. When an athlete is in the zone, they are never caught in two minds, yet their decision making and problem solving becomes rapid, decisive, and precise. You only have to observe world-class table tennis players in an intense rally to see this in action. The ping pong ball will be struck with such velocity and accuracy that the returner will never have enough time to process their thoughts to make the correct decision. Yet incredibly, the right decision is often the one that's made. In another sport that I coach, cricket, a world-class cricket batsman has to face a rock-hard ball being hurled at him at the rate of about 75 to 100 miles per hour. A good bowler can also cause the ball to move in different directions whilst in the air. The batsman will therefore have to select the correct shot from an arsenal of around 50 to 60 different types of strokes within a fraction of a second. In training, each stroke would have been perfectly refined through thousands of hours of repetition, but this will all be in vain if he selects the wrong shot, as one poor decision will result in either getting caught out, run out, bowled out, or knocked out. Salim Ismail, a former head of innovations at Yahoo, once said in a public address, and I quote, "Whenever we watch a live concert or traditional sports event, we are essentially paying to watch people in their state of flow. Whether it's Kobe Bryant, Roger Federer, Jay-Z, or a jazz crooner, they have all put in endless hours of work so that when performance time comes, they are fully present in the flow state. An actor with screen presence is there too. A great poet can deliver flow to the reader just through the power of words. We pay to watch, read, or be in the presence of a flow experience. If quantified, you will find that flow is a major chunk of our nation's GDP." Unquote. Now, before I go into how the flow state can be naturally and deliberately achieved, and make no mistake, we can all achieve it. In my humble opinion, I strongly believe that learning how to deliberately enter into the flow state, especially when a child is under pressure to perform, is one of the most important life skills that mainstream education fails to address. You see, most coaches will focus on developing their athletes' technical ability and tactical awareness. This is of course important, but even with 10,000 hours of deliberate practice, the most talented athlete will struggle to achieve their dreams of success and is highly likely to choke under pressure if they do not know how to enter into the flow state. A fine high-profile example is the glaring underperformance of the England football team for almost 4 generations. Despite recruiting the world's most expensive managers, having some of the world's most advanced training facilities, and putting together squads of some of the highest paid players in the world, we perpetually crash out of tournaments by getting outplayed by teams with a fraction of their talent, money, resources and facilities, simply because these teams know how to use the occasion and the environment to attain the flow state. Now, once upon a time, the secrets on how to enter into the flow state, also commonly known as hacking into flow, was left to the authority of philosophers, monks and religious gurus. But now, with the invent of functional magnetic resonance imaging, also known as fMRI scanners, neuroscientists are able to see how the brain is functioning when test subjects are in a flow state. These exciting developments prove that flow is not just a mystical theory. However, to hack into the flow state, there are many roads that lead to Rome. So over the next few podcast segments, I will be revealing to you the many methods that I have used in my practice as a coach and mentor. If you wish to learn how to consistently perform at your optimum, I strongly suggest that you give some of these methods a try. Like anything, they will take a little bit of practice. But for now, here are some definite do's and don'ts, must and must nots, for entering into this optimum performance state, known as flow. A. We are often told in school and in business that we must plan, plan, plan. If we fail to plan, we plan to fail. However, when we plan, we will always ever produce our second best, and we will never experience true flow. As described earlier, flow is about being in the moment and having absolute presence of mind. When we plan, we anticipate or expect things to occur that may not. Remember, our decision making needs to be automatic. Therefore, to achieve flow, we need to be ready and alert for any eventuality. So, the only planning we need to do is to acquire the necessary skills in advance. Once you are confident that you have developed the requisite skills in practice, trust yourself. Do not anticipate or create any expectations in your mind. By remaining ready and alert for anything to happen, your nervous system will do the rapid decision making for you. B. Attend to what you are doing rather than how you are doing it. Remember, you already have the necessary skills, so why would you concern yourself with how to do it now? As advanced as the human brain is, it can only attend to one thing at a time. So if you are charged with the responsibility of scoring a free throw or a penalty for your team, focus only on where you want the ball to be placed and pay no attention to any irrelevant stimuli, as they will only serve as an unnecessary distraction. By moving your attention to how you are going to kick or throw a ball, you will regress back to the mindset and performance style of a beginner. This is a phenomenon also known as de-automation. A phenomenon that occurs almost every time the England national football team has to take a penalty shootout in a major football tournament. C. Relax your mind. You will never perform at your optimum when your nervous system is in red alert. This red alert, better known as the fight, flight, or freeze response, is triggered through visualizing or anticipating negative outcomes. This means that our nervous system will react as though our thoughts are actually happening in real life. So of course, you will begin to hyperventilate, your heart rate will increase, and your body will become tense. Now, if you ever notice yourself feeling anxious and tense, just take 2 minutes away from the task to attend to your breathing. By taking slow, deliberate diaphragmatic breaths in through your nose for 4 seconds and out through your mouth for 7 to 8 seconds. Couple this with replacing the negative images in your mind by generating clear images and sensations of yourself performing successfully. You can return your body, mind, and nervous system back to what is known as the alpha state, or your peak performance state. D. Be in the room. The human mind has an ability to project itself into another world if the environment we are in is not to our immediate liking. For instance, have you ever caught yourself daydreaming when you should be concentrating on your studies or homework? Have you ever played a sport in extreme weather and wished you were at home wrapped up in a nice warm blanket? Well, this mindset is the saboteur of flow, as flow is not about escaping the moment, but embracing the moment. Regardless of how uncomfortable the environment you are in is, tell yourself that there is no better place than where you are right now, and immerse your mind, body, and soul 100% in what you are doing. By doing this, I guarantee that it will only take a few minutes for everything that you thought would be a barrier to your experience and performance to fade away. And finally, E. In the state of flow, you cannot be self-conscious. A self-conscious person either degrades or elevates themselves as a separate entity from their environment, which puts undue attention and pressure on their illusion of self or their ego. This only serves to work against your environment rather than with it. A good example is a tennis player serving the ball as hard as he can to prove that he is a faster server than his opponent until he hurts and strains himself. By overexerting himself, he is working against his natural balance, his body, the ball, the racket, the breeze, and the climate. Remember, every living organism flourishes when it works in harmony with its surrounding environment, and we humans are not exempt from this law of nature. So instead of attending to your thoughts, attend to your senses. If it feels balanced, graceful, and in control, it will be right, and the ball or object you are trying to manipulate will fully comply. So hopefully these tips will help you. If you didn't catch them all the first time, rewind this podcast, get a pen and paper, and write them down. I will also be happy to receive your feedback on whether you managed to achieve the flow state or not. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next segment.